Hello everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel and welcome to a random stitch with me. I am currently working on Autumn Harmony, which is artwork by Maxine Gadd. I will insert the picture somewhere on the screen, and I am still trying to finish the color that I am working on. For the month of May, I have been stitching only using 154 on this chart, and I only have 518 stitches left of this color, and so I am just really trying to get this color finished. There are only a few more days left in May, so I really need to get my butt working if I want to get this color done before the end of May. I think it's currently May 29th, maybe? I'm not exactly sure. It's Wednesday. I know that the last day of May, I think, is Friday, so yeah, I only have a couple days left. And I need to do 518 stitches. So I think my plan is to try and do like 300 stitches today. So far today, I have already done 55 stitches, which is a ton, but it is better than nothing. And so I'm just going to keep working on this color. I am stitching this piece on 18 count fabric, 2/1 full cross, and it's one of the few pieces that I'm doing full cross. I'm actually considering starting another full coverage chart using full cross, but I'm not entirely sure yet. There is a chart, and if it comes out soon, I most likely am going to start it when it comes out, and I've talked about it before. Unconventional Cross Stitch signed an artist named Ivy Dollamore, I think is her last name, and I love like all the artwork that has come out so far, or all the artwork that I've seen, because I looked on the artist's website to see all their artwork, and they are currently signed with Charting Creations. So Charting Creations has one piece that is, I think, called like Warm Witch, and then Unconventional Cross Stitch already released one piece that I think is called Herbalist Helper or something like that. I can insert the picture. It just came out this week. And I am on Unconventional Cross Stitch's Patreon, and on Patreon you kind of get like little like behind the scenes like news. And so I have seen two other charts that they are working on for Ivy Dollamore, and I cannot wait for them to be released. And so there's one of them that when it comes out, I'm going to be starting it like as soon as it comes out, most likely. And so I already know that's going to happen. So I don't know if it'll be this week. I'm hoping that it happens this week. I would really love if it came out because I have fabric that I can use for it. I technically have 18 count fabric that might work. I need to see how big it's going to be though, because I'm still not sure how big the chart will be since it's not out yet. But I have a piece of 18 count fabric that is, I think, like 30 by 36. So it's a pretty big piece of 18 count. And then I also have a piece of 25 count that was left over from the fabric that I got for Cozy Winter Book Nook. And then I also have a piece of 28 count. So I have options, and so I just need to decide if I would like to start at full cross or tent stitch. So tent stitch, I had a question about it, about what tent stitch is. Tent stitch is technically, it's basically just a half cross. So you do the bottom leg of the stitch. I'm trying to use my fingers to show, but it's zoomed in a lot. So it's just the bottom leg of a stitch, but you can technically do it different ways. So I'm going to link to a video where someone shows the different ways that you can do it. And the ways that it ends up being different is visible on the back of the work. So you won't necessarily see the differences on the front necessarily, but it's more visible on the back and how the stitches lay on the back. But yeah, otherwise it's basically just a half cross, but I don't know why people call it tent stitch. I just know that it's always been called tent stitch whenever I first heard about it, so that's what I call it. But yeah, it's a half cross. So yeah, I tend to do half cross a lot because it just goes a lot quicker, because if you're doing like, say you're doing long rows of like filling in, if you only have to do the bottom leg, and then imagine when I stitch full cross, if I'm doing a long row, I will usually do like the bottom half of the stitch, and then I will go back, and then I will do the top half. So now imagine that you do your bottom half and then you're just done. You move on to the next row. So it just does end up being a lot faster, especially if you're doing like blocks of color, if you are doing half cross. So that is the reason why I tend to use it a lot, is because it's faster, and then also I usually only use tent stitch on 25 count or 28 count fabric, and so you end up with like a lot smaller of a finished piece if you are doing it on a 25 or 28 count. Because that's one thing, is like if I were to do this one new start on 18 count, it ends up being huge, and it's like I don't have the wall space for a ton of like huge full coverages. And so that's part of why I usually will go for like a 25 or 28 count fabric over one and do a half cross. It's a smaller finished piece, and that is nice when you have a lot of large charts that you're working on. But yeah, I'm just really excited for that piece to come out though. I have been waiting for it basically since Unconventional Cross Stitch announced that they signed Ivy Dollamore, which was I think in April. I have just been kind of like, if this piece comes out, if this artwork is charted, I have to buy it. Like I love the artwork, and I've also wanted to start an unconventional cross stitch chart for a while. So I figure it's perfect. I get a chart that I really, really love the artwork for, and I get to try out a new cross stitch company. So that will be happening hopefully soon. And so there's that. And then June, talking just like plans a little bit, is I'm not sure yet what I want to do for Autumn Harmony in June. So the color I'm working on will hopefully be finished in the next couple days. And so I can't decide if I want to like actually just focus on working on one area, fully filling in the area, like somewhere like by her face, you know, so I can get more of like her hair filled in around her. She also still doesn't have a neck, so it would be nice to kind of like get her neck done. But then another part of me kind of was thinking about doing cross country by color, but doing the smallest colors, because I did the calculations and I'm trying to do 5,000 stitches every month. And so if I just did the smallest colors, I think I would be able to finish off like 24 colors in June if I were to only stitch the smallest colors, because there's quite a few colors that only have like 30 stitches left. And so I could do all those and then just knock out a whole bunch of colors in June. So I'm not sure yet how I kind of want to tackle her next month. It would be kind of fun to do the smallest colors, but the only downside is that the colors, like some of the colors have 30 stitches, but they're all spread out. So it's like they have 30 stitches along the bottom and along the top by her like hair, and so they're like all over the place. So I would be jumping around a lot in June if I were to do that. So I'm still not sure. I'm still trying to decide what to do. I also had thought about doing not necessarily the smallest colors, but doing some of the lighter colors. So I could do, there is still quite a few stitches left in 3865, which is a really light color that's almost white. There's also white that I need to do, and so I thought about doing some of the lighter colors, which are more in her arms, I think. So one of her arms I did previously, I think last year, but then the arm on the left side I still have not touched, and that has a lot of light colors in her like skin tone. So I was thinking that I could possibly also just do 5,000 stitches in the light colors so that I can get some of those done. But yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. It probably will just depend on June 1st. I'll just pull her out, and then whatever is sounding the best is most likely what I will do. I'm not trying to do like any like strict crazy like you have to do this, and then yeah, so I also could change my mind. So like if I start something June 1st and I don't like it, I could always change my mind partway through the month and then just be like, oh, we're going to do this now instead. And just, you know, change it up so that I am enjoying working on her, because she's been out for so long. And she's most likely going to be out for a very long time. So I've mentioned before, I'm trying to do 60,000 stitches on her this year. Oh no. I need to pull that out, and I think I need to just end the thread. I was playing thread chicken. There's only a couple more stitches in this little area that I was doing, and I lost the thread chicken. All right, so now I need to thread my needle again and figure out where I am. But I think that my plans for next month, cross-stitching wise, are going to be somewhat similar to May, in that I think I'm just going to make a list of my projects again, with the projects that are most important at the top, and then work my way down the list, and that way I know that I am working on the projects that I need to get stitching done on, and then if I make it to the bottom, that's great. If not, those projects aren't that high of a priority, so I won't feel that bad. Because like for May, I did the list, and yeah, I did not make it very far down the list this month. So like so far I have not even touched the Haid Stitch Along, but it's fine. Like I kind of already have come to terms with the fact that I might not even finish the 4 pages. We will see what happens at the end of the year. I just know that I'm not going to have a ton of stitching time most likely in the summer. Kids will be home and possibly wanting to do things and stuff. So I just know that I probably won't have very much stitching time. So I'm not going to try and like schedule myself like to do too much and then just feel disappointed if I don't meet, the goals. So I'm really just going to be focusing on the things that I want finished this year. So Tonight We Ride, I want to have finished this summer. So I will most likely work on that first in June again. And then I want to have Kita finished this summer, or not this summer. I want her finished at the end of the year. So she will also be a priority this summer. And I'm just going to make sure that I focus a lot on Autumn Harmony, Tonight We Ride, and Kita, because those are the ones that are kind of like the most important in terms of the fact that they're the ones that I want finished. Everything else is just kind of like, if I get to stitch on it, that's great. Otherwise, it's fine if I don't, and they will get their like focus piece time later some other time. But it's not their year. This year is for apparently Tonight We Ride and Kita and Autumn Harmony. Just a lot of that. I will say though that I'm getting to a point where at the beginning of the year I feel like I had a lot more things that I needed to stitch on, because I was also still working on Festive Frosted Pumpkin Cottage. And I was trying to do more. I was trying to actually finish the Haid Stitch Along at the beginning of the year. I was like, yeah, I can totally do 5,000 stitches a month on that. And it wasn't reasonable. So now I'm at a point where, because I've cut it down and I only have like a few things now that I have to work on every month, it feels a lot easier, just because like I don't feel like I have to do as many stitches. And I also feel like if I want to start something new, like this Ivy Dollamore piece that might be coming out, I could just do it, and it's not a huge deal. It'll be fine. I will say that next year I think I might change Whip Go, because Whip Go right now I'm only doing 1,000 stitches on each piece, and I think next year I would like to change it and have my Whip Go pieces be to stitch 1% on them, or 1,000 stitches, whichever is like the larger number. And I say that because some of my pieces are smaller full coverage pieces, and so they would need like only like 500 stitches to get 1%. And so I don't want to do just 500. So in that case, I would do 1,000 stitches. But then it means that my other pieces would get a nice chunk of stitching done if I'm trying to do 1% on them. Or I had also thought about doing like a rotation of where I keep a piece out for a longer period of time. This isn't related to Whip Go, but I've just thought about doing like a longer rotation on a piece where I do like 5% or 10% on a piece and then rotate to a next project and do like a large chunk, just because like some pieces I feel like they're moving along so slowly that they're never going to get done. And so I just need to think of a way to next year to try and work on some of the pieces more so that things are moving at a greater pace on some of these other pieces. I also realized when I was talking about projects I need to work on, I didn't mention Little Gamer. So Little Gamer is also a priority for this summer. I will be working on Little Gamer. I do want to have that finished. I would like to have at least one Gecko Rouge kit finished, because when I was in the Gold Club, I ended up like accumulating like 4 Gecko Rouge kits, I think. I haven't started one of them because I'm like, I don't need to have 4 Gecko Rouge kits started. I need to finish some of the ones that I've started before I can start this last one that I have. And so yeah, I would really like to just get some of the Gecko Rouge kits worked on and out of my little collection. And so yeah, Little Gamer, that will be a focus this summer too. But that one is pretty easy to get the stitching done on because it's a half cross. It goes fairly quick, and it's also, some areas have a lot of confetti, but then there's also some areas that are just like blocky areas, so it's not that bad. I was just making sure that this was still in focus, but yeah. So that one will also be a focus this summer, and so I'm just gonna have like my 4 projects that I will try and focus on this summer, and see what happens. see what else I can get in. Hopefully I can also work on some of my other projects. I'm also going to be still trying to keep up with WIPGO, which so far hasn't been that bad. And I think I might in June do the same thing that I did in May and assign my WIPGO projects a weekend and then just work on them like one weekend, see what I get done. If they needed another weekend, then they can have another weekend and just do it like that. My WIPGO pieces for June, they are both full coverage because the majority of my charts are full coverage, and one of them is a half cross chart, and then the other one is a full cross one. So I think the numbers were 2 and 25, which for me is the chart Walking in the Rain by Artisy, and that is one that I am doing on, I think, 25 count, 2/1 half cross. And the other one that was called was Disneyland Map, which is charted by Xana Cross Stitch on Etsy. And that is one that I am doing on like an 18 count, 16 or 18 count, and it is a full cross. So that one might take me a little bit longer to get the 1,000 stitches done. But I'm really excited to work on both of those because I haven't worked on those charts since probably Flossmas, because in Flossmas I think I worked on everything last year. I worked on every single one of my whips in December, I think. So I'm excited to get those pulled out though and get working on them. I cannot believe that it's almost June, and actually I just realized that this weekend will be the first weekend of June, so I will most likely work on one of my WIPGO pieces on the weekend, which I can't believe that it's already almost June. I'm just glad that it's almost June because that also means that we will get the second half of Bridgerton season 3. I really dislike that Netflix has done the whole splitting the seasons up thing that they've been doing for the last, I think they've been doing it for a couple years now at this point, but it's like, I would just like to get all 8 episodes and so I can just watch them. And I get that they like that it keeps people talking about the shows for longer, but I just want to watch it and binge it all in one weekend like I used to be able to. But I actually started listening to the 5th book in the Bridgerton series, which is, I think, To Sir Philip with Love is, I think, the name. I don't know. It was on Audible, so I was like, yes, I will listen to this next because I want to know what happens to, I think that one's about Eloise, and so we're going to see what happens with Eloise. It starts off right now, it's kind of sad a little bit. I'm not going to spoil anything that's happening, but yeah, I kind of have heard on social media things like that happen with who she ends up with. So it's kind of spoiled for me. I kind of know who she ends up with, but I don't know the how they get to the point where they end up together. So it's not fully spoiled. I also somewhat know about Francesca because people on social media were talking about the guy that she meets in the show. So I kind of know a little bit. I'm not going to say anything else, but yeah, you find out too much stuff just being on the internet. So today when I pick up my kids in the car, I will get to knit on the sock because I'm still working on my daughter's sock, and then I can listen more to Sir Philip with Love, which is, it's just nice to be able to just sit there and knit and listen to an audiobook. I saw a thing where someone was like, why do parents get to the parent pickup line so early? And it's like, number one, you have to if you want a good spot. Otherwise, if you don't get there early, you end up down the street from the school and your kids are waiting forever. And number two, it's so relaxing if you just get there early and you're knitting and you have your little book. And sometimes I bring a little drink for myself, a little coffee or something. It's what is wrong with sitting in a car in the quiet with a nice coffee? It's not bad. I don't hate it. It's a built-in you get to sit and relax part of your day. So it's how could you complain about that? So far, I still have 437 stitches left to go, so I am very slowly making progress. Okay, there we go. I am moving over to here. The way that I've been kind of trying to work on this chart in this section is because the stitches are kind of scattered all over. So I'm doing the darker kind of purpley reddy color here. And the stitches are kind of scattered all over. So the way I've been trying to work it is I've been kind of just working like in a column. So like I will start in this square here and then just try and work down this way. And that's just what I've been doing. It's kind of, and then I just kind of try and focus like box by box on filling in the stitches in one box, move on to the next box. And that way I'm not getting lost, because for a while I felt like I was kind of like, where am I? All these stitches look the same. They're just all scattered around. They're not really making any identifiable like shapes or anything. And so it's like, where was I? I felt kind of lost looking at what I was doing. So in not cross-stitching related plans is this summer is going to be sock week, which is Nitty Natty host. I don't even know exactly. I need to like get more into the knitting stuff, but I just have heard talk about sock week, and it's from Nitty Natty. And there are a lot of like shops that kind of like will join in and create things for sock week. So like for example, there's a thing and I want it, and it's a ruler that it's like a slap bracelet ruler. And so then on one side it actually has like the measurement of like US shoe sizes. So like if you're knitting a sock and you need to measure the bottom, it has like different like US shoe sizes so you can make your sock the right length. And then the other side is an actual just normal ruler, so it's got, you know, inches. And so it's like, that looks really cool, and those are going up for sale I think Friday. And so I really want to get one of those slap bracelets if I can. And then also this summer, I just want to participate in Sock Week. So I think it starts July 21st. And then the like whole like goal is that you make one sock in a week. And so I really want to do that. I'm also trying to decide what type of sock I want to make, because so far I have currently just been making the vanilla sock from Crazy Sock Lady, but I also know there's so many sock patterns out there, and so I can't decide. By then, hopefully I should have finished my daughter's sock by then, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then I don't know if I'm going to do another pair of socks before I move on, but yeah, I would kind of like to start looking at like what other patterns are out there and what other construction methods are there, you know, just so I can start trying out other things and also just other patterns, because like there's like, you know, detailed patterns, or you can just do like a sock that's a ribbed sock, which I think a ribbed sock to me would be almost torture, because I don't like doing ribbing in general. So having a sock where the entire thing is ribbed would just be like, I could not imagine. Also, like hats, I've seen sometimes there's patterns for hats where it's just like a fully ribbed hat, and I'm just like, nope, I could not. There was also a tank top that I really liked the pattern of, but it was fully ribbed, and I was just like, I'm getting slightly better at it after on my daughter's second sock. I noticed like I was kind of going through the ribbing a lot quicker than I had been on the other one. So I feel like it's getting better. Possibly it's improving a little bit. But yeah, I just couldn't imagine doing a fully like ribbed garment. Obviously, it wouldn't be as bad as I'm probably thinking, but it just would stress me out. And so yeah, but I do want to do another sock for Sock Week. That's one thing that I want to start looking at, is I want to start looking at some knitting patterns, because I've got all my little cross stitch plans that I've made, and I've talked before about how I didn't really make knitting plans. And so things that I would like to knit is I would like to finish my daughter's socks. My son has requested a pair of socks, my middle child, and he said he just wants black socks, which I don't own any black yarn, so I'm going to need to get some black yarn for a pair of black socks. And so I want to do that. And then there's a tank top pattern that I think I want to make, and I think I already have yarn for it. I also have yarn that I would like to make another Musselburgh hat eventually, which I need to like start knitting ahead of the season. So like I want to make a tank top, but it's already getting into like summer weather. So if I made it, I would need to make it quick so that I can actually have it for the summer. And if I make a hat, I would actually like to start it in like the summer or fall. And so that way I can actually wear it in the winter. If I start it in the winter, there's no way that it would be done in time for me to wear it in winter. I'm not that fast at knitting. And it's not necessarily I think that I'm not that fast. I just don't give enough time to knitting. If I'm doing something at home, it's usually going to be cross stitch, and knitting is kind of more like travel projects for me so far. Like, I don't usually sit and just knit very often, which it actually is easier to knit and like watch TV. So like sometimes it would probably be better to knit and watch TV because like if you're doing just like stockinette, it's like you don't really have to pay that much attention to what you're doing. I also need to add more onto my scrappy knit blanket because my scrappy blanket, I'm just right now trying to do one of every color before I start repeating colors. And so because I haven't finished yet, but because I'm doing my daughter's socks in the yarn that I'm using, I'm going to add that color of yarn to the scrap blanket. I already added the yarn from my sock to the blanket, and so like I want the blanket to just right now have at least one of every color that I've used so far in my little knitting journey. And I'm not repeating colors yet because I would like to have a lot of colors done before I get to the point of having to repeat. So that's part of why I need to try and make more garments and like use other yarns in my stash so that I can start putting other colors into my little blanket that I'm making. The blanket that I am making is the memory square or mitered corner blanket. I've seen it called different things. And the pattern that I'm using is from Anna Knitter on YouTube. And it was really easy. It shows you exactly what to do for every single step, which is very helpful because a lot of times seeing things in knitting is a lot better than just reading it. Like if you read it, it's super confusing. I actually tried learning how to knit when I was in high school. But at that time, like internet was there, but it wasn't where it is now. And so I was mostly trying to learn by checking books out from the library. And I think I couldn't get the hang of it. Like it was not clicking. Stitches were not looking right. And I think it was just because when you're trying to do it from just pictures and written directions, there's a lot of ways that you can like kind of mess up. And so video tutorials make things a lot easier. Plus, a lot of the times the people will give you like little tips, like if it's turning out like this, then you're probably doing this wrong. And so you can like really pick up a lot quicker on your mistakes before you've made like a whole garment or something, and then you realize that all your stitches were like twisted, or you were wrapping your yarn the wrong way or something. So it's a lot easier now than it used to be. There is also a couple like sweatery tops that I want to make, and one of them, I don't even remember the names of them. I'll have to just insert pictures. But one of them is one that I actually purchased already. So I own the pattern. I think I have yarn that would work, and it was one, and I ended up not making it at the time because I was just like not confident in my abilities, because every sweater that I have made so far has been in the round. So you're just knitting the yoke in the round. And this is one where you actually have to do like neck shaping, and then the sleeves, you actually pick up the stitches along the top to make the sleeves. And so it's knit different from everything else that I've made so far. So that kind of scared me. Like you have to make like your shoulder, I think is where you start. You're starting at like the top of one of the shoulders, and you're making like a separate, like you're actually knitting around to make like a shaped neck and like the shaped armholes. And I've never done that before. So that kind of scared me. And so I would really like to try and make one of those sweaters at some point this year. But yeah. And then also there is a channel that I watch called I do watch Retro Claude, but that's not the one that has the pattern. I watch like a lot of like kind of like vintagey knitting, crocheting, and like sewing type ones. And so Retro Claude does vintage sewing, knitting, and crocheting. So I watch her, but she's not the one that I was thinking about. So there's a different channel called Engineering Knits, and they do also like vintage retro patterns. And one of the things that she has available is there was a sweater that she has that was an older sweater, and she made a pattern for it. And so I would actually like to knit that pattern eventually too. I'm not sure how hard it is though, but she has a video where she went through the process of like designing the pattern and like her like testing it out and then problems that she faced. And so I would like to knit that sweater, but I don't remember the name. So I'll insert the picture. It's like a little like vintagey cardigan sweater, and it's really cute, and I love a good cardigan. So that is something that I would like to make eventually. I'm not sure when, but I definitely don't have yarn for that. And I think when she made it, she actually just used like Knit Picks yarn, so I could just pick up some Knit Picks yarn, and it's not going to be like a super expensive sweater like some end up being. Like when you're having to buy like a full sweater's quantity of like $30 yarn, that can be very expensive. And so yeah, that kind of puts you off sometimes of starting some of these garments. I am trying to figure out where I am. I think I haven't marked off some stitches, and so it has me a little lost. There we go. So I am actually going to go over to this square and start working my way over to the left a little bit. But all that's left now of this bottom section is here. Like, I can't zoom out because my camera will get all like weird and unfocusy, but all that's left is this section. So we're gonna go left to the left, and that's it. That's it. I just need to fill in the 154 in that area, and I am down to having only 381 stitches left of this color, and then it will be done, and then I can move on to whatever I end up doing in June, which, like I said, up in the air. Don't know what I'm doing. I have ideas. I'm still saying though, like, I like the idea of filling in a full section on this chart, but I also really think that it goes quick when you're only working with one color. Like, and it also makes it easy to pull the piece out when you're only pulling like the chart out, or you're only having to get out like your little hoop. And then I have all the floss that I needed was on one of the floss drops here. And so it made it really easy to work on this piece because you didn't have like tons of floss cards out with a lot of floss. You weren't having to worry about running out of other colors. I just made sure that I had enough of the color I'm working on, and then you can just kind of like fly through it. You know, you don't have to think about like, which color do I want to stitch next? It's like, no, you're working on 154 and that's it. You're not changing anything. And so yeah, it's kind of nice. Like, I'm kind of thinking about doing it on maybe more projects. I don't know. We will see. It's also like an affordable way of stitching on a project, because I've seen sometimes people where they're getting ready to start a chart and they're like, what's the cheapest way to get floss, because they're starting a chart with, 90 colors, and that can be expensive if you don't have any, floss. Even if you have floss, like there was times where I went to Joann's because I was like, oh, I'm out of I don't have 30 colors to start something. And those 30 colors, they can add up very quickly when floss at this point is what, 60 cents in the US or something. I don't even know, 56 cents. I'm not exactly sure. Which I know that our floss is cheaper than other places. I have seen other places where they're floss is a crazy amount compared to what it is here. And so yeah, it adds up. And so if you're only doing one color at a time though, you can be stitching on that one color for a month or two, and you're only having to buy a couple things of floss, and so that it can kind of be an affordable way of starting a project if you don't want to spend a lot up front, or if you're just waiting for a sale, because there's a lot of times where I would need floss and I would be like, I'm going to wait for a sale, because a lot of times Michael's will have a coupon where you can get 40% off your entire purchase. So that's usually when I would buy floss if I need floss, is I wait for that coupon. I have a list of everything that I need and I try and stock up when there's a good sale. And that's how I got my set of floss, because I have a master set, and that's what I did, is just whenever there was a sale, I would buy some more colors when it was on sale, and that way I wasn't having to pay full price. And it's something where I know that the cost of a master set up front is a lot, but at the same point, the way that I've started looking at it is floss is never going to really get cheaper. I've been stitching at this point for a long time. I don't even want to think about it. I've been stitching regularly since 2013, and floss in 2013 was so cheap compared to now. And so it just keeps going up. And so that's what I keep reminding myself is the cost of DMC is only going to keep going up. So if you put off buying the full set or whatever, it's just going to get more expensive if you want to do it later. And I just butchered that stitch. And so that's kind of what motivated me to finally complete the set of floss that I have, is they had announced on like a cross stitch group that the price of DMC was going up. And I was just like, it's going up again for reals. And so I was like, there's a sale. I'm just going to buy what I can and complete my set because like I said, it just keeps getting crazier. And there is other options though, like CXC. I do like CXC and I would probably use it more if it was easier to get. Like if you didn't have to order it online, I would most likely use it for more projects. But the fact that you have to order it online, and if you order it from AliExpress, it can take a while. I think the first time I ordered it took like 2 or 3 months, but I did order during 2020 when there was like a lot of shipping delays and stuff like that. So it took a long time to get from AliExpress. And then I have ordered from another shop. I can't remember what the shop was, but it was an Etsy shop, and that came really quick. So at least there is other options, but the Etsy shops tend to charge a little bit more than if you order directly from AliExpress. So that's kind of like the downside, is that you get it quicker, but it's going to cost more. Yeah, my stitching is getting very crooked. And the reason is that to film this stitch with me, I have a Lowry stand. I ended up using the Lowry to hold my phone over my stitching. So the phone is nice and supported, but my stitching is just in my lap. So yeah, if it's getting crooked or like shaking, that is why. I am currently now at 200 stitches done for today. Like I said, I'm trying to get to like 300, so I'm just gonna keep the video going until I get to 300. I might cut out areas where like I just don't talk, because sometimes I'm like focused on what I'm stitching and I just like forget that like, oh, I'm supposed to be talking right now. It's only 11:47, so it's not going to take me hopefully that long to get this stitching done. And then today, after I work on this piece and get my 300 stitches done, I think my plan is that I am going to be working on the Haid Stitch Along finally. I did meet my goal on Cozy Winter Book Nook, which my goal for this month was to just do 1,000 stitches. And so that's done. And so I will work on the Haid Stitch Along tonight, I think. And then if that one new chart comes out from Unconventional Cross Stitch, I'm most likely going to just start that right away. I don't want to wait. I really like that artwork, and so if something comes out that I'm really excited about, I'm just gonna do it. But that also means that I would have to take the time to make floss cards, because I do have a master set of floss, but I do not stitch from my master set. I will usually make a floss card I make floss cards for each of my projects. And I usually will only put like a small amount of floss on each card, and it just makes it so that the project itself is portable. So if I wanted to go somewhere with the project, I already have all the floss with it. And then it also means that I'm not digging through the master set when there's like confetti, because sometimes if there's confetti in a project, you're changing colors like, a lot, and so I don't really want to be digging through the master set to find a color. And so I will usually just, like I said, have floss cards with each project, and then I can just easily change color. I will usually only do like, where is my floss for this one right here? So on a floss card, what I will usually do is I will usually just take like one of the 6-strand things, because all my floss now is pre-cut because it's all on floss cards. And so I will usually just take one of like the things of 6 strands that's pre-cut, put that with a project. And so I don't have a ton of floss with each project, because I don't want to have to keep buying like tons of floss when, if I'm being realistic, most projects I don't work on very often with the amount that I have. So I don't want to have like a full skein of floss tied up in a project that just sits there for a long time not being used, especially because in a lot of projects I'm in like a top corner or like a portion where you might only be using a few colors. So some of those colors could just sit there unused for a very long time if I was to put like a full skein with a project. And so I stopped doing that. I used to fully kit up each project. Like I would buy the full amount of floss. So like if a project needed like 5 skeins of floss, I would be buying all 5. I would be keeping them with that project. And then I realized that it got like out of hand. And so there was some colors that you use in a lot of projects. An example is like 939. 939 gets used a lot. It's a basic, like dark blue, I think. And so it was used in a lot of projects. And then some projects needed multiples. And so when I like combined all my flosses together, I realized I had like 10 skeins of $9.39, and it was like, why am I still buying more of this floss to start new projects when I have so much of it that is just sitting not being used? And that's when I kind of like combined everything into a master set, and then I re-kit everything up using the floss cards, because I used to use bobbins and I used to use Ziploc bags for a while. I tried out different methods, because bobbins are what's easiest to get, because Michaels and Joann's carry bobbins, so like it's just easy. And then they sell the little boxes to put them in, and that's kind of what I would see mostly when I would look up how to store floss for a project, is bobbins and the boxes would come up. And then I got tired of that, because I had finished a project that used bobbins, and then I was kind of like, what am I going to do when I get to a point where I have, you know, multiple projects, and say each project has 310 with it? I'm going to have 10 bobbins that are all labeled 310. What am I going to do with all these bobbins? And you're just going to have bobbins everywhere. And it also isn't easy to combine bobbins, because, you know, you end up with like weird amounts left. I think I just messed up a stitch. You end up with like weird amounts. So like, sometimes on bobbins, I would end up with like an amount of floss where like it would either be not enough to stitch with. I would have like a really short piece left at the end because I wasn't cutting my floss evenly. Or you'd end up with like just like weird amounts. I don't know. And so you'd either have to like put them onto another bobbin, or it was like, what are you going to do with all these? And so that's when I started looking at other ways, and that's when I saw people mentioning using Ziploc bags with like a little index card in it to label them. And so I did that for a couple projects, and I didn't hate it, because it makes it easier, because it's a Ziploc bag. So you finish a project and then you can just put floss into the Ziploc bags. You know, that's it. You move from one Ziploc bag to another pretty easily. You don't have to like worry about winding it in like weird lengths, because I was pre-cutting all of the floss that was in the Ziploc bags. And so yeah, that was one thing that I tried, but I did not like the amount of space that the Ziploc bags take up, because each project, when it was like kitted up with the Ziploc bags, would take up like one of those like plasticky shoeboxy containers. So like it wasn't small to store. It was like pretty big, and then by my stitching area it was like taking up a pretty good chunk of space, and so that didn't work out just because of space for me. And so then I started looking into floss cards, and I ended up getting plastic ones for my master set. If I can reach one, I have plastic floss cards for my master set. All the floss is pre-cut on there. I also got labels from, I think, the Etsy shop Sarithri, and then I put tape over the labels, because I was like, I do not want anything to happen to these numbers, because they're going to be on there for a while, hopefully. And so all my floss is pre-cut, and it makes it so that when I want to do a project, like I said, I can just go and I take off like one of these things of like the 6 strands. You pull it off, put it with a project. When you're done with the project and you want to put things back into the master set, you're just putting them on here. Like this right here, the reason why there's probably 2 separate ones is probably that this floss might have been with a different project, and then I finished it, I just put it back on, easy peasy, and so it works pretty well. Also, because I have some CXC, what I do if I have CXC is I will put the CXC on the floss cards, my master set, but I'm gonna have to pause to grab something real quick. I have these knitting markers. So these are just progress markers that you can get on like Amazon. What I will do if I put CXC on my floss cards is I will just like put one of the progress markers on the one that's CXC, and that way I can kind of have DMC and the CXC together but still keep track of which is which. And yeah, it still takes up some space, because I keep all of my floss in the top row of one of those 3-tiered Michaels carts. So I have a cart next to me that has the full set on it, and then yeah, and then I just pull onto if I can grab them, doing a lot of reaching. And so then the plastic ones are my full set. When I kit up a project, I usually use these cardboard ones that are from AliExpress. I will link them. AliExpress is the only place that I found the cardboard ones, and I like the cardboard ones just because they are cheaper to get than all the plastic ones. And usually what I will do is I will use them for a project. If it was a smaller project and they didn't get used a lot, sometimes I will flip them over and then use the other side if it's still like in good shape. If it was a project that it was on it for a long time and the floss cards are kind of like falling apart, then I will usually just toss them. But yeah, so that's what I use. I am also getting more into the floss drops though for certain projects. So like right here I have my floss drop that I'm using for Autumn Harmony for this one color, and these are from Atom Heart Cross Stitch, and I really like them. This is actually the floss drops that are for blends, so there is a hole for 2 colors, and it's for if you're doing a project with blends, you can have both the colors on there, and then you could also have a spot where like if you have some that are like blended together already that you put like on like your other little section. So these are really nice, and I got these because the Make It Pink charts use blends, and I will be starting Link or Zelda hopefully at the end of the year, possibly. So that is just a little side thing about floss, because floss storage, I feel like floss storage is always something that is easy to talk about because everyone does it differently, and then usually when people hear like other ways, it's just something I always like hearing how other people store floss. You know, even if it's not the way that I do it, it's nice to hear because everyone does things slightly different, and everyone has like their own reasoning for why it works for them. Like this works for me because I like to be able to pull the pre-cut lengths of floss, and then also to be able to combine everything easily if I wanted to. Because like I said, the bobbins, I felt like I just ended up with bobbins everywhere, and eventually they do start to take up a lot of space. Like if you have, like I had like 5 projects at the time, which isn't that many now that I have like a lot, but I had like 5 projects, and so then you end up with like 5 bobbin boxes because each project would have its own bobbin box, and then I had like stacks of bobbin boxes. And then you also can't really store a bobbin box with the project. So, I can actually store my floss cards, the cardboard ones, in my project bags with my projects. And so the floss for a project is all stored nicely together, which I couldn't do when I was doing the bobbin boxes or when I was doing the Ziploc bags. So that is part of my thing, is I like everything to just be together neatly. Anyways, I have I'm at 230 stitches, so I'm getting closer to my 300, but I also stopped stitching there for a minute, so I need to get back to the stitching so I can get my stitching done for today. And then after that I will have to do lunch, and then it will be time most likely to get my kids from school, which they still have like 2 or 3 weeks of school, I think 2.5. I don't even remember. They get out, I think, on June 18th because we had some snow days in this school year. So they were supposed to get out like a week early, but they had, I think, 3 or 4 snow days. And then the day they were supposed to get originally was a Wednesday. And so obviously if you have a couple snow days, then it means you have to like go through a whole nother weekend. And so yeah, they have a few days left, or a few more weeks left of school to get through. I am now at 243 stitches. I feel like I need like a live countdown of my stitches as I do them, like, because I am just wanting to get to 300. I'm technically doing extra stitching on Autumn Harmony this month because I only needed to do 5,000 stitches. But when I started this month on Autumn Harmony, there was, I think, 5,600 stitches that I needed to do in the 154 if I wanted to finish it. So I technically have already met my 5,000 stitch goal, but I really just want this color finished so that I can start June like fresh. And so now I'm just kind of making things challenging for myself these last couple days in May by being like, you must finish this color. You can do it. I think that's another thing that goes back to, like, I've mentioned that, like, when I get to the end of a project, I really just want to work on it and finish it. And I feel kind of similar when I'm working color by color, is like, when there's still a lot of stitches of the color left, like when there was like 5,000 stitches, I was like not really motivated to work on it. I was like, this is still a lot of stitches. I feel like I'm not making progress. And then I get down to the point where like there's like less than 1,000 and I'm like, it's so close to being finished. You have to do it. And then like even now, it says that there are 330 stitches left of this color, and I'm like, I could finish that today if I wanted to. I don't really want to because I want to work on the Haid stitch along and get some progress done on that, but I could finish it today. And so it's always fun when you kind of reach the point of being like, I could do this if I wanted to, instead of it being like impossible. Because, like, you know, when you have thousands of stitches left, that's not possible to do that on a day. But a few hundred stitches left, you're like, that's possible. That's a realistic number. And I'm getting so close. This also is like really putting into perspective to me how much time it actually takes to finish a chart. Like, you know, a lot of times I just stitch on something for like a day or two. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's not bad progress. But it's like, to actually finish it, it takes this. It takes working on it like all the time. I'm like, and so I kind of really have been like not second guessing, but I think a lot more about charts when I look at them. Like, is this something that I would want to put this amount of time into? And so I feel like I'm kind of getting more selective when I look at charts of like, is this something that I would actually want to stitch on every day for, you know, a couple years to get it finished? And then I'm like, maybe not. I feel like my topics are just like all like sporadic, but another thing that I was thinking about for next year, or possibly even the end of this year, because I'm going to get to a point where I don't have as much things that I have to work on, because like Tonight We Ride, I want it finished by in August or somewhere around there. And so then after August, I am going to have one less thing to work on that I have to do. And so I was kind of thinking about if I started making goals for projects in kind of a different way. And so like I keep a project out until I meet whatever goal I set. An example is something like I'm stitching the chart Yennefer by Charting Creations, and I'm stitching it Extreme Cross Country. I think I might have messed up. No, I didn't. I'm fine. I'm stitching it Extreme Cross Country by Color right now. I don't know if it'll stay that way. And right now I'm stitching only the black. And so I was kind of thinking like, what if I make a goal and figure out how many stitches I would need to do to get it finished in a certain amount of months, and then have to do the black on her, and then rotate projects like that. So like I set like a little goal, because I also have Dear Alice and I'm stitching all the black in that first. And so also like, you know, figure out how much black I would need to do on her to get that, like, get the black finished. And then that would be like another way that I could set goals where it's not trying to get it finished, but it would get me working on certain charts more so that I can get more progress done. So that's something that I thought about. I also have been thinking about doing like Finish It Friday, where I have a project that I want to like work on, not necessarily until it's finished, but until I finish a goal. And I saw that Jenna X Stitches was doing that on her channel. And so on Friday, she's working on a piece that she's trying to get finished. And so I was thinking about trying something like that eventually, where I pick a chart where I am trying to like reach a goal, whatever the goal may be, like finish a color, reach a certain percentage or something, and then work on that chart every Friday until I meet the goal on that chart. But I don't know. I have a lot of ideas of things that I would like to do, and number one, I haven't been writing them down, so sometimes I think I have a great idea and then it's gone. It just goes away. So I need to just write things down. But yeah, I've already been planning on how I want to do goals like next year going forward. Next year is coming quick. We already like halfway through this year. And there are things that I liked about this year, but then there were also things that I haven't liked, which I just feel like the thing that I don't like that much is I don't like that there are some pieces that I feel like aren't getting worked on a ton, you know? So like all my Whipco pieces, it's like 1,000 stitches and then that's it for right now. And so that's, you know, it's not great knowing that they didn't get a lot of progress. But the things that I liked so far this year for my goals is I like the fact that I am making a good amount of progress on certain projects. Like they're actually going to get finished this year. They're going to get close to finished. And so it's nice knowing that there is a good amount of progress on certain charts. I also do like the like structured aspect where like I know what I need to work on every month. Like I like that because there was sometimes before where I like say like I had just finished a chart and then I would sit there and I would be like, I don't know what to do next. And this way, I always kind of know what I'm doing next. I always know what needs to be worked on if I want to meet my goal. And so that's one thing that I do like, is I do like knowing what I need to work on, you know? I don't really like I don't do well with the freedom of just doing whatever I want, you know? Like, I feel like I'll end up just not making a lot of progress on anything. Like I said, I will spend time where I just don't even know what to work on. And that kind of carries over into other things. So, like, there was one day where I didn't want to cross stitch and I didn't want to knit and I wanted to play a game. And then I just sat there looking at my games and I just looked at them for like an hour and I did not play anything. And it's like, I do not do well, apparently, with making decisions, because I was like, I don't know if I want to play a game that's like, you know, like a story heavy game or just like a fun game, or if I wanted to play like, because I was looking at Game Pass, because I do have Game Pass and there's so many games on there that I haven't played yet. And so I was like, I didn't know what to do or what type of game I wanted to play. And that was kind of what I would do for cross stitches. It was like, do I want to stitch on full coverage? Do I want to do a half cross project or a full cross? And so I would just kind of sit there and then spend too much time not even stitching and just thinking about what to do next. And now I just know pretty much what I am doing next. I have like, before I was doing spin the wheel, I would just spin the wheel every day with the projects that needed to be worked on. And then now I just have my list, and so I can just work down the list, and I know, you know, I can look at the list for what's coming next. And I do well that way. I know that there are some people who don't like the structure of like, this is a feeling like you have to do something, you know. I know that some people don't, but it has been working for me. I almost went to flip this, and there's no way I'm going to be able to flip this with my camera there, so end that thread that way for now. Later, I'm going to have to go back and probably weave these under in case I didn't stitch over the backs of any of them. But yeah, I can't flip it over right now. I have this in a nerd hoop, and it's the biggest nerd hoop that I have. I think it's a number, I'm not seeing the number on here. It's the one that's like 10 by 11, I think. And I don't know if I actually like the size that much. I really like 11 by 11 Q snaps and 11 by 17 Q snaps. And so when I had the nerd hoops, I was like, yeah, I'll get the big one. And I don't know if I like the big one that much, and I don't know why. I actually really like, I ordered a couple other sizes, and I really like the smaller sizes that are smaller than this one. I feel like they are a little bit more manageable. This one, for some reason, it almost feels too big. But like I said, I use an 11 by 11 Q snap sometimes, and that doesn't feel too big. But I think it's because on the Q snap, you kind of can't really work near the edges, whereas on the nerd, you can really work pretty close up to the edge of the hoop without like running into the sides. I used to use Q snaps like all the time, and then I don't know what it is about them exactly, but I use hoops a lot more now. So I have like just the basic round hoops that you can get at like Joann's, and then I also have the nerd, the square hoops, and I like both of them. And I think it's because it's quicker to change projects, number one, and then number two, they're just like, they're super light. And so I go back and forth between using my Lowry. Sometimes I use my Lowry, but then other times like I sit like in weird positions sometimes. And so if I'm not like sitting up like, you know, in perfect Lowry position, I will have to take it out of the Lowry. And so sometimes I just have it like propped up and I'm just holding it. And so I really like how lightweight hoops are compared to Q snaps. I'm currently at 282 stitches complete, and I'm trying to get to 300, and then I will end this video. So I'm getting close. I'm already at like over an hour for this video, so I most likely will like cut out like the dead spots just so that you're not having to listen to like silence or me like humming along to things, you know? So yeah, but I'm getting so close to 300. So one thing I was going to mention too is like I used to use Q snaps a lot, and I don't use them as much anymore because they take a lot longer to switch projects and things like that. And they also are like slightly heavier if I am stitching like in hand or anything like that. Like right now I have a Lowry. Am I using my Lowry? No, my Lowry's holding up my camera and I am holding my hoop by myself. And so I do like how like lightweight hoops are. But I was considering getting a scroll frame. I have been looking at getting like the Arabesca, I think is the brand, scroll frames from Amazon, which I originally saw I think Stitcherista had a video where she like unboxed it and did like a little review on them. And so I was thinking about getting a scroll frame just to try out. And I don't really want to try it out like with an expensive one because I've never really used scroll frames. I did use PVC pipe to make like a scroll frame in a video before, and it wasn't bad. The only issue that I had with it is that it was not light. It was pretty heavy, and so I didn't have my Lowry at the time to use it, and so I just never used it. And then eventually it got taken apart, and then I don't know where all the pieces are. I think my kids might have taken some of the pieces, and I think one of the pieces from my PVC scroll frame might have been used to make a rocket for my kids had to make rockets for school, and I think they might have taken one of the PVC pipes for that. But yeah, it was just heavy. Like, it worked. It did the job of like keeping the tension, but I didn't have a stand at the time that I made it. And so now that I have my Lowry, I kind of would like to try scroll frames again. And so yeah, I'm kind of thinking about the Arabesca one, and I like that it doesn't have to have like Velcro to attach it. It has like clamps. So you attach the fabric on with clamps and then you roll it. And I like the idea of that because I don't think I would like doing the Velcro method. And I don't think I would like having to sew it on because I feel like even if I had a scroll frame, I would still want to switch projects, which I don't think that's not the point of scroll frames, is to like switch your projects all the time. But I switch projects so much that I feel like I would like the option of being able to easily switch projects on them. So I was thinking about those and trying those out. And I think those would also be nice because the sizes they have like a large size one where the bar is 22 inches. So I think that quite a few of my projects could possibly work on that. And it would also be nice for some of my projects where I didn't give myself a ton of room at the sides. Because it's hard to like put them in a hoop because I don't have a ton of edging space on the sides. So a scroll frame could be nice because then I don't have to worry about the sides being in the hoop. I have an example actually, real quick. I will grab it. Whoa. The strawberry farm chart. So I have it in a hoop and the hoop is too big. And so it just kind of hangs loosey-goosey because it doesn't fit. So that. And there's Strawberry Farm. I did my stitching on it. I did 1,000 stitches. Woo! So that's like a little spoiler for the video coming up, is I worked on Strawberry Farm last weekend and I met my WIPGO goal finally. So that was exciting. I do really love that chart. It's so colorful. Like, when I first started it, I was only doing like the brown, so it was kind of not very exciting. But then the last time I stitched on it, I got to stitch some of the colors and I was happy. I am currently at 291 stitches. I keep having to like pause my stitching so that I can mark off my stitches on my laptop, but I'm getting close and then I will be stopping. And then yeah, my camera was like, yeah, you are done for today, and it just like stopped me recording because I think I was recording for like too long. It's running out of storage. And so yeah, I need to mark off my stitches and see where I'm at. I think I might be done. I might have done it. I might have done 300 stitches on this project today. I am at exactly 300 right now, but I still need to mark off 3 more stitches. So I'm going to be at 303 stitches done for today on Autumn Harmony. So there is my progress, and I hope that you all got a lot of stitching done while I was stitching, because you know, that's stitch with me. We're supposed to be stitching together. And I will see you all in my next update video, which will most likely be on Friday. I think Friday or Saturday. It depends on if I want to do the video on the last day of May or on the first day of June. We'll see. But I will see you all then. Thanks for watching. Bye.